A lot of times when people come in, they're like, I've had my gut scoped, I've had this done, I've had that done. Everyone says I'm normal. Well, I know what they tested for, so let's not do it again because we didn't find anything. So taking digestive enzymes can help you break stuff down. Is what I'm getting to. As far as lactose, that's just people who are deficient in that enzyme. It's just an example. If that makes sense. So as far as breaking down foods, like taking a good digestive enzyme, a lot of times can help you break down foods better. Does it make sense? So one of the big things, and there's a lot of research, kind of the new science is talking about probiotics, and a lot of people are starting to catch on and take probiotics. But they're actually starting to link the lack of probiotics with different diseases. So they actually took mice in this study right here, and they actually kept them away from all bacteria and took away the bacteria, and they actually developed autoimmune diseases and developed all these chronic diseases without these bacteria. So with this bacteria being so important inside our gut, where do we first get it from? And so the place that we first experience from is from birth, from our mother. Whenever you come out of the vaginal canal, and so they've actually started doing a lot of research with children that have C-sections because they don't have that first exposure to it. And there's a big movement, they call it seeding, where they're trying to take some of the vaginal juice, kind of gross, but put it in their mouth, trying to increase the bacteria. And so actually it's pretty interesting because I did a lecture and there was a NICU nurse here from, which is it Children's is in Dallas? Which one's in Dallas? I always get them confused. And Children's has actually started using high doses for all their C-section babies. They started using high dose probiotics, trying to catch them up on the bacteria since all the research is showing they're behind on it. And that their babies have had, it's been so successful that they're trying to get it implemented as a standard across the board in all the hospitals, with all the C-section babies trying to catch them up. And so what the research has shown is with C-section, the bacteria that the baby's exposed to resemble either the nurse that held them or the bacteria on the wall. And so I don't know if y'all agree with me on this, but I don't want the bacteria resembling the bacteria on the wall in the hospital. But so you can imagine you've got this baby who had a C-section who's behind on it. Now let's throw some ear infections or something in there. And so what's going to happen? They'll give them antibiotics, aren't they? So they're already behind on this bacteria. Then you start throwing antibiotics on it, and then you're suppressing the bacteria. So you can see how a good healthy diet for especially a kid that's gone through C-section with probiotics is super important. Does it make sense? Because you're going to play catch-up work. So anyways, it's something to think about. But like what I was telling you before, they've actually started doing a lot of research on bad gut bacteria, and they've started linking different species with different autoimmune diseases. And so it's kind of new in the making, and it's not saying that if you have this gut bacteria overgrowth that you will have fill in the autoimmune disease. Well, what they found so far is people that had certain different bad bacteria overgrowths were more prone to having, let's say, Hashimoto's lymphadenopathy things. So that's how important that these bugs can be, and especially if you get the bad guys that are overgrowing, taking over that shouldn't be there. And so, well, what this little chart is over on the right, they've actually started linking different gut bacteria with different neurotransmitters. Who's heard of neurotransmitters? Raise your hand. So neurotransmitters aren't just in the brain; they're found throughout the body. So, an example, Bacillus species has been linked to producing dopamine and norepinephrine. Streptococcus is with serotonin. So all these gut bacteria do a heck of a lot more than just sit in your gut and break things down. There's a whole lot of stuff that the science is just starting to. It's just, well, we've seen the tip of the iceberg on this. And so another thing that's really important is our vagus nerve is the nerve that stimulates our gut motility. So we've got to have healthy nervous system flow as well to have good bowel movements. And so with our probiotics, lactobacillus has actually been linked with natural killer cell function and things that it has to do with our immune system and having a healthy immune system. And so to have good gut bacteria, the kinds of foods that we eat matters. And everyone always hears like you want to be more alkaline, you don't want to be as more acidic. And when we're talking about acidic foods, we're talking about our processed sugars and our bad foods. Our veggies and our fruits and everything tend to be more alkaline, which helps your bacteria grow better. So we want to have this diverse fruit and veggie diet. And to give you an example of the standard American diet and how it's causing acidity inside our body, we've got kombucha versus Coke. And so a lot of y'all have seen this slide before because it's been in a couple of different lectures, but it's pretty eye-opening because if you look at this soda, so that's a liter bottle, but this label right here is a can. Couldn't find a can that would go in very well. But if you look at how much sugar is there, I know it's hard to see, there's 52 grams of sugar for 1 can of soda. So 52 grams of sugar. So over here at this kombucha, and I think they have it here at Natural Grocers, I'm not for sure. This is just an example, but in this bottle right here, you have 2 grams of sugar inside that bottle. And so the thing that it also has is here's all the vitamins that it also has in it, and it's full of antioxidants. So the thing that I always tell people is if we just trade out a soda for the people who are drinking a lot of sodas and trade it for, let's say, kombucha, you can see how far that would go in your diet, especially for your gut health, because now you're not taking in this acid, this really acidic drink with all this sugar. You're actually getting your probiotics, and kombucha actually has double the dose of daily B vitamins in it.
Are all kombucha created equal?
It depends.
Okay. More or less?
They're pretty similar.
Okay.
Just depends on viscosity and the actual amount that's in it.
Okay.
But one of the big things we're talking about pH. So up here, that soda right there is being tested at 2.8 on the pH scale. And if you look up here at 2, Coke and Pepsi, it's right by a thing of vinegar. So who here would take a big bottle of vinegar and just bottoms up and chug that thing? Who wants to take that challenge? We'll do it tonight.
Without that 52 grams of sugar.
Exactly.
Right.
And so the next question is, if it's that acidic, how are people able to drink it? And it is the 52 grams. That's why it has 52 grams of sugar in it, is to cover up all that acidity. And so, yeah. I mean, you can see how bad that is, and it just wreaks havoc on our gut and on all these gut bacteria and everything that's inside our stomach. And so, with this sugar, it's going to cause us to put on belly fat. The problem with belly fat is belly fat's actually an endocrine gland. It's actually an endocrine gland. It actually produces hormones. And belly fat in particular actually produces a hormone called adiponectin, which in turn makes you store more belly fat.
Oh my god.
So it's just a vicious cycle.
It's crazy. Wow.
But what happens, who here has heard the term leaky gut? More and more people's hearing a leaky gut. So what leaky gut is literally there's damage that's done to your gut where things weren't supposed to get through start getting through is what happens. And all kinds of things can lead to leaky gut. Poor diet, your sodas, acidic environment, bad gut bacteria overgrowth. It could be hormonal related. There's all kinds of different things that can lead to leaky gut. But what it does is it causes inflammation of the gut lining. And who here has heard of IBS? So like it's all over TV now, irritable bowel syndrome. Well, what happens with a lot of these gut problems is with celiac, it's autoimmune disease against the gut. The gut lining gets unhealthy and gets inflamed, and so you're creating damage. And so up here at the top where the word leaky gut would be, that's where all of your food and everything. You know, that's the inside of your gut right there. And below here is your actual blood system. And so what your body's
Small intestine?
do what?
Where is that? Is that in the small
That's intestines. Yeah, well, it's just the intestines in general. It can happen small or large, but a lot of this happens mostly in the small intestine. But what happens on here is you normally have these things called the tight junctions, and so with your cells, they're sitting close together, and so the little top, they have little tentacle-looking things because that increases the surface area so that you can absorb more nutrients. And so these tight junctions, it's kind of like waterproofing it, if that makes sense. So only really small digestive particles that should be the size to get through can get through. Well, what happens is it could be cilia, it could be a bad gut bacteria overgrowth. It could be, well, whatever it is that's damaging it. And so that's part of what we have to do is we have to figure out what's damaging this gut and remove that, if that makes sense. If you're having food sensitivities that you're reacting to that's inflaming the gut, we've got to figure that out and we've got to remove that so the gut can start healing. Because what happens is two things can happen. You can either break these tight junctions that are in between the cells. So basically this little border in between gets broken and then things are coming in between the cells, or the actual cells themselves can get damaged. And so that's what you're seeing over there, where it actually you actually start killing cells and cleaving cells and things start coming through. But what happens is these large undigested particles get into the circulatory system. It all gets in where it shouldn't be. And so that's where things really go wrong, because these really big undigested particles show up that are way bigger than anything your body's supposed to be seeing. So now your immune system looks at it and it says, the heck is that? That's not supposed to be there. And so then what can happen is your body can start reacting to that. We can start cross-reacting over, which can start leading to different diseases and problems. Does it make sense?
What causes that?
You name it, all kinds of stuff. And so one of the big things that leads to the leaky gut is hormone problems, thyroid issues. That's a really big symptom of thyroid is being stopped up. Your stress with the cortisol, too high cortisol can lead to leaky gut, which is really damaging. So we've got to make sure that our hormones are balanced and we have proper hormone function. And other things can affect it. We do a lot of genetic testing, and so with our genetic testing, some people can't detoxify. So things like your pesticides and all those things can be really damaging to the gut.
There's two right there.
So we've got to check for all that stuff. So something that you can do as far as helping with your gut is we need to avoid our processed sugars. Our sugars are highly inflammatory, and bad gut bacteria love our processed sugars, so avoid processed foods. The Dirty Dozen Clean 15, who's heard of that? So eating organic can be expensive. So what I tell people is absolutely go by the Dirty Dozen Clean 15. And so what that is on the Dirty Dozen, it's a list of foods, and you can just Google it, look it up. But on the Dirty Dozen, you absolutely eat those organic. You don't ever eat those without it being organic. And the reason's because usually whenever you look at those fruits and those veggies, they have a small they have a really thin outer skin. So first of all, the pesticides get inside the fruit. So it doesn't matter how much you wash it, the pesticides are actually inside of it. Yeah, you literally can't get it off. Second reason is because bugs typically like all the fruit that are easier to eat, right? And so they spray more pesticides on it for that reason, because all the bugs get on it. So you always eat those organic. And Clean 15, it's got a thick enough outer skin that a lot of times you can get away with it not being organic, because if you wash it really good, you can get it off of there. It's typically the rule in that. we want to swap our sugary drinks for water. We just showed you the sodas and how much sugar's in there. So there's a lot of alternatives that we can do to avoid that sugar. And our drinks are always, that's one of our biggest pitfalls with our where a lot of our hidden sugar and a lot of our nutrition is going wrong, because it's empty calories. And we want to eat fermented foods, because we talked about we want good probiotics, we want good bacteria. And today we really don't eat a lot of fermented foods. So we're talking about your kombucha, your kimchi, your sauerkrauts. We want to rotate a lot of good fermented foods to help get this good bacteria in. And something that you can add to this list is taking a good probiotic. What I typically like to look for with a probiotic is I like for it to be in the billion. First of all, with that amount. This is just my personal opinion. I always tell you if it's in the research or if it's just my opinion. This is my opinion. I prefer for the species to be able to stay at room temperature and to survive. It's just my opinion. If it has to be inside a refrigerator for them to survive, I put it inside a 98-degree body. I'm worried about it being able to get in there and live anyway. So that's just my opinion on it. I like them to be able to sit on the shelf and still survive. And even a good digestive enzyme can also help. So, one of my stories I like to tell, I like to brag on my dad. So, a little story on me. My 16th, it was my 16th birthday. One of my favorite uncles, Uncle Stan, he was like a second father to me. And so, I'm from East Texas. You can probably tell from the accent. I grew up on a farm, and so if it wasn't fried, if it didn't hit the grease, we didn't eat it. And so, we ate, eating healthy, that's just, I still remember my grandmother had the coffee can of the bacon fat that we'd reuse. I still remember that. So anyways, my 16th birthday, my uncle calls me that morning to tell me he wanted to wish me a happy birthday. And so later that night, we got the second phone call. He had passed through a fatal heart attack, and he was only 45 years old. And so that was literally the first time that I'd ever seen my father cry. And I had to watch my aunt raise three beautiful children as a single mother. And so no one shared with us what the things that I'm sharing with y'all tonight. And my uncle didn't take his health serious, and my entire family suffered from it. So fast forward today. Ran blood work on my dad, and he had all kinds of problems. He was tired, he had chronic fatigue, was pre-diabetic, had high cholesterol, had chronic inflammation. And so I had the come to Jesus meeting with him, and I sick my mom on him. Because if you sick mom on him, he's going to do it. And so anyways, he took it serious, and I like to brag on him because that was in January and November. He had made his changes. That's a picture of before and after, and he was all of his lab work was in functional ranges, and he was no longer pre-diabetic and had turned his cholesterol around. So I like to brag on him because I like to keep him around, and he was going down the path of Stan, and he decided he didn't want to do that. So that's what a healthy lifestyle can do for you, and I always like to share that story, because I'm proud of him and to show y'all what y'all can do. And second thing, I CrossFit. That's just what I like to do. That's my wife and I doing it. So we also love to live the lifestyle. But other than that, the big thing, this lady right here, Grandma survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. So that's what we're trying to do here tonight. We're trying to teach y'all it's the saying. Yeah, you can give someone a fish, or you can teach them to fish, and they'll live for their life. That's what we're trying to do here tonight. We're trying to give you all the skills for y'all to be able to take care of yourself and be your own self-health advocate. So, with that, I want you to go ahead and give yourself a round of applause for being here tonight. First of all, y'all could have been anywhere, and y'all got to wearing them. So, I want to congratulate y'all about that. And that concludes what I have prepared for y'all tonight. Y'all can reach me at drdbruner@gmail.com. That's actually changed. It could be Derek at optimizelivinginstitute.com, so I kind of have two emails now. But at the very least, our office is called Optimized Living Institute, and that's our website right there. Other than that, that's what I have prepared. If you have any questions, feel free to ask it now.
Okay, I have one about the yeast that's in your gut. I hear, that it feeds on sugar, so avoiding sugar will help with that. And then does your standard probiotic help fight that yeast growth as well?
Yeast can be tricky. Yeast, it depends on the level of overgrowth that you have. And then yes, it does. Yes, it does love sugar. Absolutely loves to feed off of that. With kombucha, you got to be kind of careful with it because SCOBY, which is what they brew it with, it actually has yeast in it. So you got to be careful with that. But with yeast too, a lot of it's testing to see the level of the overgrowth. Yeah, you always have some in there, but it shouldn't be total overgrowth, if that makes sense. Yeah, yeast can be like a constant battle, like whenever people get real bad overgrowth on it. Does that make sense?
So how do you determine the level of yeast that somebody has in their system? Or is it
Lab.
all
We do-
guessing games?
No, we do lab work. We do
Is there a lab
stool
work?
test. I mean, you test it. I'm a big proponent of like test, don't guess. Like,
Okay, yeah,
I
I'm
like to
just
test. Yeah, well,
Because I've had some people tell me, oh, you must have yeast in it. And I just, well,
no. Yeah.
not necessarily.
Yeah, so the thing with the gut though is sometimes it can be hard to test, like SIBO, which stands for small bacterial overgrowth. Problem with that is it's really hard to test for that. So yeah, you can. There are some tests that come out that it's like a breath test that tests to see, like you drink something and then if you have all this overgrowth, then you should be kind of burping stuff up. But I don't even know like how valid that is. The problem is in your small bowel there's not oxygen, and so certain species live there. The problem is on a stool test it hit the air and they die. So like whenever you do like a stool test, we send it out to the lab. They take it and they grow a culture, and then it's kind of a crappy job. You have to sit there with a microscope and start counting the species, And so like I don't know who signed up for that. It must be the intern.
Absolutely.
But anyways, the problem is like with SIBO in particular, those species don't grow really well they don't grow at all when they hit the oxygen. So it's really hard to see it. So a lot of that you do kind of have to go by symptoms, and a lot of the other stuff you can pick up. Parasites, like a lot of that stuff you can pick up with stool tests. There's another test from Genova that came out, and they're claiming that they test like kind of the DNA level, so they're claiming it doesn't matter that they can pick up those anaerobic bacteria. But then again, a lot of their that test is sitting up there like $500 to $700, where standard stool test is like $150 to $200. So it's kind of one of those like, do we really want to blow $600, or do we just want to say like every symptom points towards SIBO, let's just proceed accordingly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm a big proponent on everything has to be for a reason. I like to test, don't guess. So that's what we base everything off of. I always tell people physiology doesn't lie. Your cholesterol is your cholesterol, your blood sugar is your blood sugar. So I like to get a starting point and then customize what we're going to do around that for a reason, and then do follow up so that we can see plain as day. We started here, this is where we are now. Does that make sense?
Have you heard of a medication called Mixalon?
Do what?
Have you heard of a medication called Mixalon?
I've heard of it.
It's kind of like Cadillac. It's the best medication you get, or I guess the strongest you can for upset stomachs and stuff that people live on.
Yeah.
Is there any way to reverse? My wife lives on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out through diet how to get her off of it.
I gotta figure out what's making her sick is the big thing. So there's usually always an underlying reason for the symptoms. It's with the symptoms kind of like a warning light going off. So if you're having some kind of food sensitivity that that you're not reacting good to, and it's causing kind of a fermentation issue that can cause it. Some hormonal issues can cause nausea. Because a lot of the like anti-nausea medications just pushing down, you just don't feel nauseous anymore, if that makes sense. So a lot of it's just trying to get to the underlying cause, what's going on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of times with stuff like that, I mean, you might try like elimination diet, like eliminate out all the known triggers and allergies, and it decreases on that. Then you can add things one by one back, and things like that, trying to figure out what the underlying cause is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's not really like it's this. There never is. So that makes sense.
Holding it to an underlying diet and trying to keep it there, fully reverse it on. I guess it's going to be completely dependent on every individual.
Yeah, it's well, because the body can do weird things. Because people coming in, like patients come in and like I have this. Have you ever seen that before? I'm like, man, anything's possible. Like I can literally have this entire group of people right here. I can put you all on the same diet, and we're all gonna get different results.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And that's where it's got to be customized for the person.
I'm sure genetics and all kinds of things factor in. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that factors into everything.
I know I had an acid reflux situation in the past, and I took the ALCAT test, and it basically told me what all my sensitivities were. I don't know if you're a proponent of that, but it helped because I just didn't eat as much of the ones I didn't eat any that were in my red zone, and then rotated out on the others when and if necessary.
Is that similar to like a seasonal allergy test?
No, it's totally different. So,
It's a sensitivity exam and tolerance test.
She's extremely sensitive to everything, but she took the allergy test and she lit up.
Yeah, so
the difference in those two. So the ALCAT, I used to run them, but I moved away from using them.
Oh, okay.
And so they've just come out with better testing since then. So I do more IgG testing now, and so I'm explaining what the difference is in each one.
Yes, because I'm curious.
Yeah, so the ALCAT it's a sensitivity test, but what they do is they take your blood, they expose it to whatever it is, corn, wheat, like whatever it is, and so they look for the white blood cells to change, to start attacking it. The thing is though, the reason why I kind of move away from it is because if things are exposed to things it's not supposed to be exposed to, they typically react. So it's kind of one of those, it doesn't necessarily always mean that you're really reactive to it because you're not going to have pure corn in you. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Versus, me personally, I prefer IgG testing, that's antibodies. So what an antibody is your immune system tags something as bad, it tags it with the antibody. So like with Hashimoto's hypothyroid, you're testing for TPO antibodies. So that's where your body has tagged your thyroid with antibodies saying this is bad, this is a foreign invader, destroy it. And so it doesn't mean that you are attacking it because you have antibodies, but the more antibodies, the more kidney signs you have, the better chance you are attacking it. Does it make sense? So that's where I like IgG, or they call it ELISA testing, better.
Oh.
So the difference in like your standard allergy testing is that's IgE. So in your immune system you have IgG, you have IgE. IgE is like true allergy. So like, and there's different levels of IgE. So it goes all the way from you have a little, like runny nose, kind of rhinitis to hives, all the way up. You need an EpiPen. Anaphylaxis is the worst kind. So that's IgE. That's like you eat something, your windpipe starts closing off. That's IgG testing. That's what most allergy testing is. The IgG, you still have sensitivity to it, but it's more long-term reaction. If that makes sense. So that's the difference in the two.
When you said you never had pure corn,
Well,
The blood cells wouldn't have pure corn, they have nutrients that were extracted from the corn.
Yeah, you'd have it digested.
Or whatever.
It'd be digested.
It would have become an enzyme or something.
I mean, like for me, I'm allergic to everything under the sun. There's probably like 10 foods that I can't eat.
Yeah.
Being outside, I'm allergic. I kid you not. I'm allergic to grass, trees.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I have fibromyalgia, so the sun actually bothers me too. And in my eyes and stuff. So with this healthy gut, what would you suggest? And I take probiotics every day.
Yeah. Avoiding things that you've been tested for that blow you up. Because what you got to remember too is a lot of times when you have, because with fibromyalgia is tricky. And with fibromyalgia, a lot of people don't have true fibromyalgia. A lot of it becomes a diagnosis of, I don't freaking know what this is. Because fibromyalgia literally means muscle pain. Like that's what it means, literally. So if you're reacting to everything, it's going to be causing all this inflammation in the body. So if you step up, when I talk about that, it's like if you step off the curb out there, your ankle swells up this big, that's localized inflammation of the ankle is what that is. So that can happen all over the body. And so avoiding those things and figuring out what those things are that cause you to inflame is really big. Anti-inflammatories, turmeric, resveratrol, fish oils, all those things. Turmeric, resveratrol, resveratrol, I think. It's extracted out of wine, is what it is.
Out of wine?
Yeah, it's the anti-inflammatory part of wine.
Is that the real wine? Or?
You said RES.
resveratrol. I think it's
So I take turmeric every day. I'm in the capsule. So you're saying this could help me as well?
Yeah, just
As long as you're not intolerant to wine.
yeah,
Which I am.
well, it's usually resveratrol won't have that. It'll be extracted out because it's typically,
so it's not,
typically the sulfides that are in the wine.
Yeah, I have the issues with the
The
sulfides.
histamines and the sulfides. That if you get a solid quality source, like pharmaceutical grade source, that won't
Then
be.
that won't be a problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it won't have the salt. The extract is literally just the anti-inflammatory part out without all the fun stuff. You won't get drunk off of it.
Oh, darn.
Sorry.
I was looking for a cheaper way to get drunk.
But basically anything that's anti-inflammatory, it doesn't matter what it is. CBD oil, it's all anti-inflammatory. Like taking that stuff can help if you've got a lot of problems with inflammation, if you're reacting to stuff. Avoiding those things are really huge because what you got to remember is, yeah, man, you can take I can give you the best probiotic known to man that Hindu monk chanted over that he threw holy water on it. But the problem is if your gut is just unhealthy and inflamed,
And it's not absorbing.
Exactly. It's kind of like you got to think of it like a mini garden. Like you've got to have a healthy gut lining and an uninflamed gut lining for these bacteria to even be able to grow. It's just like if I went out there and I took seeds, aka the bacteria and probiotics, and threw it on the concrete out there, it's not going to grow. So that's where before I even really do heavy probiotics, I usually do a solid gut healing protocol, just trying to calm down inflammation if they're inflamed. I'm trying to start getting that gut to heal before I start really trying to put these probiotics in there. It's just that they can never grow, and then it becomes a really expensive supplement that's going out the other end.
Sure. Aloe vera juice, does that help? Sorry.
Go ahead, man. Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that about the resveratrol. Did I say it right?
Resveratrol.
Resveratrol. Thank you. And is that? And you mentioned the CBD oil, possibly capsules or whatever.
Yeah.
Are those about equal in terms of helping with inflammation, or is one better?
They hit different receptors, so honestly, it's good to kind of take a fish oil and a turmeric or a resveratrol. There's a new one that I've been kind of researching lately that kind of hits the similar receptors as CBD called PEA.
Okay.
And so it's good to take a diversity of it,
like a palette.
Different receptors.
Could you describe what it would be like with that garden? That was a beautiful analogy. If you threw some sugar on there, refined, the bad sugar, what would that, visually do?
Like if there's some Roundup on there, or with sugar. So we're talking about the yeast, so it'd be a good time to talk about that. So we're talking about something that's overgrown shouldn't be there, like yeast or candida, whatever the heck it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the weeds are growing out of control is what that is. And so that's going to be damaging to your garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I come in and I plant whatever tomatoes or whatever this stuff is, those weeds are going to keep my plants that I want to grow from growing big and strong, right? It's going to rob them of the nutrients and everything. So basically, what happens, kind of like what you're talking about when you're throwing sugar in there, is you're feeding the weeds. Is all you're doing. So that's where we've got to starve those out, kind of till the soil, and start prepping it to be able to come in behind it with the good probiotics.
There's such things as prebiotics that feed them.
Yeah, and prebiotics, whenever you look at them, are typically undigestible fiber. We don't digest it; they digest it, and so literally it's food for the probiotics. So, but with that, it kind of feeds everybody. So if you've got bad stuff overgrown,
It'll
then,
feed it too, right?
yeah, it'll feed it too. So that's where you got to kind of be careful with that. But if you don't have that problem, if you're just trying to, make your gut healthier, then yeah, taking it both together is a really good idea because you're giving the good guys stuff to eat, if that makes sense.
You mentioned starting somebody off with a healthy gut cleanse, I think is the term you use. So
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Different for everyone. It depends on what the problem is.
Okay.
So like with her, we're going to be trying to figure out what the heck's blowing this thing up. We're going to be trying to calm down inflammation. Probably going to do blood work and check inflammatory markers just to see how high this inflammation is. Because I'll give you an example. I had this lady that came in, and she always had, she had it kind of the extreme, but she always had a knee pain, like this chronic pain. And anyway, she was working with podiatrists because it was mainly like knees, ankles, and everything, ankle pain. Tried to take her granddaughter to the zoo, and they almost had to wheel her out of the zoo in a wheelchair because she was hurting so bad. And so C-reactive proteins are it's one of your bigger inflammatory markers. We ran that. It should be below 3, hers is 12. And that's what you have for cardiovascular disease, all kinds of stuff. It's just your body's on fire. And she was taking, and with the podiatrist, they had her on steroids.
Which doesn't help, right?
Well, it was just pushing it down.
Yeah.
But like the moment that they tried to take her off of it, it just blow back up. So, anyways, we found out. We found a lot of stuff she was reacting to, gave her heavy anti-inflammatories, and we were able to get that down naturally. But if it's that case and they're having gut problems, we know that if everything else is on fire, like your gut's on fire too. Does that make sense? So we got to calm all that down, give it some time to heal, and it's a process. Like that's the thing with the gut is this whole thing's a process. You don't wake up tomorrow and there's like very rarely do you find this magic bullet. It's a healing process.
Well, it took a while to get there.
Yeah, exactly. This has been building up for years. Unfortunately, if there was like a magic pill that would make it go away, they'd fly off the shelves. But anyways, and then after that, we're going to be adding in good probiotics and all that stuff. And that's what I mean by it on like gut healing programs.
So there's a whole regimen that you follow.
Trying to figure out what the heck's blowing this thing up and remove that is that's like the first thing that you got to do. Or just taking
now you're just feeding the flame.
Exactly. Just taking the probiotics and everything. It's just they don't ever get a chance to survive. They're just getting hammered from the moment that you took them. If that makes sense.
Like my
You just broke it.
allergy test, like out of 72 allergens, I'm allergic to 69 of them.
Yeah.
And so like my sedimentation rate is 25, and it's a little bit less.
Yeah.
And then more.
Yeah. So the big thing with that is whenever you have a lot of allergies, you're going to be reacting to that. But at the same time too, if there's a lot of foods, you can't control that you're reacting to grass. You got to be able to walk outside, but we can control what goes in the mouth too. They help at least take that stressor off. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been told sometimes you get those allergies because of what's in your gut, and then if you eliminate the candida and everything else, that sometimes those things are no longer triggered.
Can be. I've seen it go both ways.
Have you really?
I don't ever promise that.
Well, I've heard that, but I didn't know.
I've had people that was true. That they were just inflamed in general. Their body was just
Everything
reacting to
was
everything.
reacting, yeah.
So whenever we got them uninflamed, that calmed down. I've had people that didn't freaking matter.
I had lactose intolerance for years.
Yeah.
When I started eating right and really making progress, I have not now.
Yeah.
And I also recently read that there's things that cause lactose intolerance, not having lactase anymore.
Is that because caseins or lactates?
After 3, you don't have them to digest them because you're not supposed to be on milk after 3.
Yeah. Well,
We don't really need cow's milk, number
Well,
one. We
it's-
have some ability to digest it when we're
with cow's milk, kind of what causes problems too is the top. It's kind of what we're talking about, the casing. If you look at the actual buildup of what human milk is predominantly made of, it's whey protein versus cows made of casein. So we just don't digest that very well anyways. So it's kind of the wrong protein and the lactase combination of the two is kind of what causes problems with it.
And you don't really get calcium from cow's milk, do you?
Yeah, you get calcium, but calcium is usually not even a problem. Like, yeah, you get calcium from other food, just like half the
Grease.
people that walk into my office are vitamin D deficient. You got to have vitamin. Kids without vitamin D is rickets. Where you have
Right, with the
growth
rickets
bones.
case.
Yeah, so vitamin D, in my opinion, is way more important than calcium. I can give you all the calcium in the world. Problem is, you're not putting it away in the bones because we're vitamin D deficient, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
I need it. I had a strange experience. I mean, all this healthy eating, and you mentioned throat close. I was eating quinoa, and by the 5th bite, I'm not kidding, it did close. I was like, what is going on here? I didn't know if it was just the quinoa or I'm having an attack. It's the quinoa. I tried it again, and it'll close up after the 5th spoonful.
Yeah, so I avoid quinoa.
Wow. That's what I said. Oh my gosh. But I've also was magically allergic suddenly with red rash head to toe when I was given sulfur infection.
You were talking about the allergies going away. The one of the worst cases I've ever seen. It's ongoing right now. Actually, my wife is having to do house calls with this severely autistic kid. We work with a lot of autistic kids, and so anyways, I think on their testing they tested positive for, and I'm talking anaphylaxis, kind of like you need an EpiPen for 52 different things. And so they have trouble even going to a doctor because if they walk by and like he smells the perfume, like if someone's wearing perfume, anaphylaxis. If someone was to eat a peanut butter sandwich in here and they walked in just the fumes from the peanuts. So anyways, and there's so much, he's totally nonverbal. There's so many more problems going on with it. But anyways, my wife's having to make house calls and go there just because we're like, it's not worth the risk. We'll just go there and keep him at home. But like on that one, I mean, we've got him on a flawless diet. I mean, we're doing food rotation. I mean, he's eating everything that he's not reactive to. I mean, we're doing it all, and it's not putting a dent in it so far. So that's the reason I'm saying it can go either way. I've seen it go that way, or this is an extreme case though. I mean, you don't typically run into something like this very often.
Now, does your clinic take insurance or are you fully cash?
Depends on the service.
Okay.
So we're trained chiropractors, so
Okay.
all the chiropractic stuff, we're in network of only insurance. With the nutritional stuff, it's not that we don't take them, they don't take us. We consider us preventative by nature. Like I always tell people, they'll pay to cut your leg off, they won't pay to prevent you to be diabetic.
Exactly.
So, we don't make the rules. We just have to play the game that they put in front of us.
Where are you guys located
You go, what's that road right there, Davis, isn't it?
at?
Precinct? Yeah, you go up to, is it Davis that goes up South Lake Boulevard? Okay. Go up Precinct, go to Davis, turn left and go to the border of South Lake Killer. All right, if you don't have any more questions? Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Definitely. Appreciate it.
Like the B vitamins, I use the neurobiologics because they have the B's because they have sublingual, so that it helps get it in. Because had a couple of recent ones that have you need intrinsic factor to be able to absorb B vitamins, and they've anything lacking intrinsic factor that can absorb it, like no matter how much. I mean, I was almost having like eat a
I bought
bottle.
100,000 a week and
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
So
Wow.
So you don't suggest turmeric this way?
it's not that it's bad. It's just I just like the liquid emulsified because like when you take it like that, it's better if you can take it with some black pepper and some like coconut oil.
Well, I'm allergic to black pepper.
And then don't take black pepper. Use some like coconut oil because with turmeric, healthy fats help you absorb it easier. So the one that I typically use, and we wouldn't use the
I use
turmeric.
fish oil.
Yeah, we wouldn't use the one that I'm talking to you about because it has black pepper extract in it.
She's talking about fish, so I'm allergic to fish.
Really? All fish or just
All fish.
really?
Shellfish, what's typically locked to make my girl clothes. Just the smell of it.
Yeah. Well, shellfish is different. Well, what about fish?
I can't have any of it.
Any fish? There is vegan different omegas that you can take that I've used with vegans that don't like fish at all. So
So not your vegetarians, but your vegans.
yeah. So like you'd probably be better off taking like a vegan omega than like to avoid the fish then. That or like flaxseed, you can test for flaxseed. Be
But
like-
I can eat that.
Yeah, be like a flaxseed or something like that. You can make it instead of fish oil. Yeah, yours. Do what?
I eat a half a cup of, what's it called? It's like a granola.
Yeah.
And have like flaxseed oil every day.
Yeah, so you'll just have to get it from sources like that instead of fish.
Can I ask something that I think will benefit everybody actually?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you asked that about the capsules, but I think I missed part of it, and this question applies. So would there, for somebody who's taking an herbal supplement in a capsule or even without, would there be like an ultimate something to take it with? You mentioned the coconut oil. Is that what you would say if you want it to have more of an impact?
It just depends on the supplement.
Oh yeah, okay.
The typical rule that I tell people, it doesn't go across the board.
Mhm.
It's just easy to remember. Typically, I tell people with herbs,
Yeah.
you want to do an empty stomach. With vitamins, you want to do it with food.
Mm.
So like like your vitamin D and all that stuff with those vitamins, they don't absorb as well. B vitamins aren't as important, but you typically want to do those with food. So like your herbs, like if you're putting like herbs in capsules, and you want to do it with an empty stomach because
Mhm.
you hit the system quicker.
Okay.
You're not going to have the absorption of the food to get in the way. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Because kind of like vitamin D absorbs better with vitamin K and all that stuff. So
Mm.
the vitamins typically, when it's mixed with something, doesn't absorb it better.
Okay.
It's like it's not really true for all of them. It's just a really way to dumb it down and remember it easier.
Sure. Okay.
So like you mentioned vitamin K, that comes from like spinach and stuff like that.
It's in all kinds of stuff.
Well, they also have the K2 now, which
Yeah, and typically, like, you want to do, like, the vitamin D with the K2, it helps with the absorption of it. But they stack them together now in a lot of vitamin D supplements.
And then there's two different types of vitamin D, the D2 and the D3, which is always fun. I get that over the counter and the prescription.
I don't get hung up on that much.
Really? Is there a big difference, or?
One's active, one's inactive, but, I mean, I don't know, like, the big thing with vitamin D, it's hard to absorb either way. Because it's fat soluble, so A, D, E, K, all those are fat soluble and you don't absorb it very well. And so the problem with it is we don't get vitamin D from a lot of different things in our food, like mushrooms is one of the things that have vitamin D. So our predominant source is the sun. Problem is we're always inside all day, every day, when we're not really outside. And then just the complexion of your skin, like the more fair complected you are, the easier it is for you to get vitamin D versus the darker color of your skin. The harder it is to get vitamin D. It just takes more time for the absorption because the melanin blocks the rays. So it's one of those things. It's like for those reasons. Like I always tell people, like vitamin D is just a super important supplement because first of all, vitamin D it's more of a hormone than anything. It's a precursor to all kinds of stuff, and it's really important for a healthy immune system. So you want to push up push up your vitamin D because it helps with, especially your T regulator cell, which is the part of your immune system that tells everyone to chill out, quit attacking everything. Is vitamin D is huge at that. So, anyways, I went on a diatribe. I don't remember what started me on it.
We were talking about the capsules and using coconut oil.
Okay. No, that's how I got there.
Can vitamin D work as a buffer for cortisol?
No.
Okay.
Typically, when you have really high cortisol, it's going to blow out a lot of nutrients, like a lot of your B vitamins, like vitamin C and stuff like that's going to get drained out. It's the reason why when you look at a lot of the adrenal supplements, like the complexes, they always have like B vitamins, C vitamins, like thiamine, riboflavin. It's like all the different B vitamins. Then a lot of times they'll put like bovine complex and stuff in there. It does more just draining out everything is what ends up happening.